is, should I ask permission before we have sex the first time? I can understand where the question is coming from, because the first time that you're going to have sex, usually you don't want to talk about that. You just want to experience, you want to explore, you want to flow. And the moment that you're going to talk with it, you're going to break the flow. However, I think you should always ask for permission before you have sex. I'm going to explain to you why. Well, the question is, when do you ask for permission? I mean, I don't think there is no doubt that you should ask for permission, because I mean, what would you rather have? That you ask for permission and you have that little moment of awkwardness, but it's before you play. And you find out actually that your partner is not, would prefer to wait a bit longer with it. Or that you are not asking for permission and she's pushing you down, or she's turning you down the moment that you're actually trying to have sex with her. With them. Would you prefer to have that you're turned down the moment that you're trying to? Or would you have preferred to have that conversation before, and after that you can play? And then you're free, right? Because you know what's going on. So I think there's many reasons why you should ask it. I mean, I didn't ask as well. Would you actually have? Because it's super scary and it means that you might get a no, which is awkward. But it's a lot more awkward if it happens in the game, during the play. And it's even more awkward if somebody does not dare to say no. And afterwards, you find out that they would have preferred to wait a bit longer. It happened to me. I mean, and I don't regret it. But if I would have done it differently, and if I would have known about consent and all, I probably would have discussed it. Because, for instance, I prefer to not have sex on the first date. Even when we knew that we were starting a relationship, I usually would build it up and I would really enjoy every step in it. And then at once I had a relationship and I was totally in love, over the top, and he was too, and we ended up having sex, and it was like in a hallway on some really big pillow, and it was really exciting. But to be honest, if I would have taken the time to think about it, would I want it and how would I have wanted it, then it would have been different. And it has a lot of advantages to really ask for it and discuss it. First of all, it gives you so much more freedom, because you know that whatever you're going to do, it will be in the other person's limits, and you know these limits up front. And it gives you so much space, because now you can explore everything that you define that this is your playground. There's so much to explore there, and it takes off the pressure that you're actually going somewhere. You just let's just say that you say like, I would love to explore with you and I would love to do some oral, but I don't want to have any penetration today. Now you know what you can do. And it gives you so much more fun. And the same is for your partner, because your partner doesn't have to be afraid that she's, especially the female person. It's harder for a woman to say no to a man just because simply he is physically stronger. And especially if you didn't establish that type of trust that you need to be able to trust each other, it might be very scary to say no. And it might push them to say yes when they're not really up for it yet. Some people just take more time. So there's nothing wrong with asking it. And there's another reason why it's really good is to ask it up front, is if you're actually agreeing on that you would like to have sex, you have also the space to talk about how you would like to have it. What kind of, I mean, you don't have to go into all the details. There's plenty of space that you can explore. I mean, it's a new person. So it's different. And sex with somebody else is always different than sex from, I mean, you can have 1,000 women but the first time with the 1,001st one will still be different. I'm not talking about experience because I didn't have 1,000 women, but I can imagine that, because for me that is. Because bodies are different and people react differently on other people. And if I'm in love and I'm having a new relationship, I love to explore the other person. And if it gives me the space that I know that I'm playing within limits, it's so much more freeing. There's a very simple reason. If you're thinking about that you would love to have that penetration is in the options, usually the first time that you have sex with somebody, you would like to use a condom. So it gives you the space to talk about it if one of you has it, and it will prevent you from, that's a lot more awkward situations that you're actually in the play and you're thinking like, I thought you brought the condom and you both didn't, and then suddenly you have to stop it, right? So it gives you so much more freedom to actually explore it. And that's why I think consent is so powerful. We're not used to asking about it. We think like, we like to put the responsibility with the other person and say, yeah, they will tell us when they're not into it. But you forget that the moment that you're in the game and you're playing together, especially, and if you're a bit horny, that you might say things that you're not so, that you might have not wanted to do if you would have thought about it when you were sober, so to say, you were not so turned on. And also you probably don't want to turn your partner down. I would also personally feel a lot safer if somebody would really take the time, if somebody would dare, because it's a vulnerable question, but if my partner would ask me this question, would you like to have sex with me? And I would really have the time to think about it and give them a well thought answer. I might even say yes while I wasn't planning it, just because it makes me feel safer. It can also be the other way around, because it also makes me feel safe to say no. But it gives me so much trust. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that is what builds up a relationship. Trust, communication, trust, being honest with each other, giving each other the space and the time to be honest. Because it's not just being honest, also daring to give your partner the space to be honest. And you do that to ask them upfront and not during the day. And you know what's also really awesome is that it opens up also possibilities for discussing a little bit more in the detail. I mean, you don't have to go into the details, I said that up front, but for instance, why not ask, would you like it if I use some lube? Now, I always thought lube, that's for older women who are dry and they need it, and it's because you don't, but what I found out, I mean, I can be as wet as anything and I still like to use lube because it's simply making things going more smoothly. So I mean, I would feel really taken care of if somebody asked me this kind of the question. So just remember that there is nothing wrong with you if you ask your partner for consent. Asking them is taking care of them. Is taking their wishes into account. It's also taking your responsibility. What is your responsibility in that moment? So yes, please, ladies and gentlemen, all of you, just discuss what you want to do, no matter if it's the first time. I mean, if you're together for 20 years, I can imagine that you are not really like asking like, would it be okay if we had sex? Well, it would be interesting to see what happens if you do. But especially in the beginning, when you still need to build up trust, it's fantastic to actually address this and have a conversation. Have fun and play with passion.